Now, it's been just over a month since a wave of protests spread across Iran, followed by brutal government crackdowns. The country is still under an internet blackout, and it's still unclear how many people have died. President Trump says that the US has sent an armada towards the region. Joining us now, British-Iranian investigative reporter SAHAR ZAND. A very good morning to you. Thanks so much for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
What is, via your connections there, your latest assessment of the scale of the crackdown from the government as we sit here today?
The internet, after 3 weeks of complete blackout, is sporadically back on. We are hearing from some of the voices inside Iran, and we're getting footage and more information about what went on behind these closed doors of a nation. And what we're seeing is not just a violent crackdown, we're seeing a mass slaughter by a state towards its own people. Thousands and thousands have been killed. The footage that's emerging from Iran, we're seeing bodies on the streets killed in the most brutal way. We're seeing babies being killed, all the way to old people, men, women, all across the country. Snipers on top of buildings shooting at protesters. Anti-protest forces on the street just opening fire at everyone and anyone. We're seeing mass graves. Those we're more hearing about. We're seeing morgues covered in bodies, people in body bags. There's still so many people, thousands who are missing, with families wondering where their families are. And for myself and many other Iranians outside of Iran, we are having to go through these footage, zooming in on the faces of those killed to find out if our relatives, our loved ones are amongst them. I've been talking to activists and activist groups investigating these deaths outside of Iran in collaboration with forensic coroners and others. Amongst the footage that were coming out of the morgues, we were seeing a lot of bodies having hospital tubes coming out of their bodies, their hands tied with bullet guns to their heads. And the evidence that's now emerging from the sources I'm talking to is that some of the injured protesters were being taken out of hospital wards and shot in the head. And also something else we're hearing a lot of, which is right now being corroborated, is that a lot of bodies, injured protesters on the streets, instead of being taken to hospitals, were actually put in body bags. And some of those bodies in the morgues were initially alive. Oh. So a lot of horrific things we're hearing about.
Clearly, President Trump issued a stark warning a few weeks ago. It doesn't sound like, from your news gathering, that atrocities have diminished since that moment. Do the Iranian people feel let down by America, by the international community? What is it that they want to see in the days ahead?
I'll answer your question with a bit of context. This wasn't the first protest of its kind. They've been happening in Iran for a very long time. Each time they're bigger and more frequent because people want this regime gone. In a country where, forget rights, lives of people don't matter anything, people want a government that protects them. Anything is better than this, right? That's why when Trump said, if you kill one protester, looking back at the government's response during the previous protests, when he said, if you kill one, we'll attack. And now look at them, they've killed thousands and thousands. And in the middle of the protest, before the internet blackout, Trump said, look, he issued a statement to the people of Iran saying, go out, protest, we're coming, we're helping you. Thousands have been killed and they didn't come. Iranians, whilst they don't want a foreign power to attack their soil, feel extremely disappointed because many feel that without a foreign interference, they cannot topple this regime. There is clear a power imbalance. They are angry, they are disappointed, they feel abandoned, and they are still hopeful because there are, of course, speculations that Washington might be attacking. Something else I'd love to point out is the fact that the deaths, the atrocities by this regime hasn't ended on the streets with the bodies in the morgues. This is not the end of it. It's in many ways the beginning. Mm-hmm. There has been, as there has been in the past, a series of mass arrests. Thousands and thousands are currently being arrested, and trials in Iran aren't fair and free. And we know that 10 people, there are reports that 10 people at least have been executed already in connection to these protests, despite Trump saying that he's been told no one has been executed yet.
So what do you hope President Trump does with this armada. Clearly, there's a big build-up now of military assets in the region, having moved them from Venezuela. Do you hope there is military intervention? Because you also mentioned you didn't want an attack on Iranian soil by the US. But is that where we are now? Is it expected and is it hoped for? Listen,
I am a British Iranian person living in the UK comfortably. I'm not on the streets of Iran dying. I wouldn't have airstrikes falling on my head. What I want is irrelevant. But what the people inside Iran I'm talking to want is help. They don't want the same thing that happened in many countries. I don't need to list them. You know, look at Iraq post the US, look at Afghanistan, you look at Yemen, look at Venezuela. They don't want that. They want a democratic, secular government run by them, chosen by them. They don't want for America or any foreign government to come and take over. And they get trapped into, even though they agree anything would be better than what they have now, they don't want someone else to come and take over their government. They want democracy. That's why they're risking everything. But at the same time, many people feel like they cannot achieve that by themselves. Look at what's happening right now. Thousands are dead. So many are injured. And they want this help. They want help, but they also want reassurance that they can take over the running of their country themselves. They want a government chosen by them. They want a country run by them through democracy. Sahar, thank you so much for coming in again. And we look forward to continuing the conversation. Much appreciated. Sahar Thank you very
Zand.
much.
Such a powerful interview, it really was. And so important to hear those stories coming out of Iran.